Your heart already knows the truth, even if your life doesn't show it yet, because deep down you're tired of waiting, tired of hoping, tired of watching weaker people pass you by while you hesitate. This is the moment you stop being patient with a life that gives you nothing back. Impatience is not weakness, it's hunger. Discipline is not punishment, it's self-respect. And wealth is not luck, it's the reward for those who refuse to live small. Every morning you wake up broke, distracted, and comfortable is another day stolen from the version of you that could dominate this world. Comfort is the enemy. Motivation fades, emotions lie, but discipline never betrays you. You don't need more time, you need more intensity. You don't need permission, you need standards. When you train your mind to do the hard thing every single day, money starts chasing you, opportunities start respecting you, and people start feeling your presence before you speak. 2026 isn't just another year, it's a line in the sand. Either you rise with ruthless focus, or you stay where excuses feel safe. Decide now, get impatient, get disciplined, get rich. This is your year to win. When hesitation hits, give yourself only 66 seconds to act. Move, decide, execute. Winners don't debate with fear, they interrupt it with action. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because without it, your life is controlled by whatever emotion shows up that day. And emotions are unreliable, impulsive, and weak when left untrained. When you wake up and act only when you feel motivated, you hand over control of your future to temporary feelings that don't care about your goals, your family, or your potential. Discipline is what allows you to do what must be done even when your mind screams for comfort, distraction, or escape. It is the ability to choose long-term power over short-term pleasure, and that choice, repeated daily, is what separates those who lead their lives from those who are dragged through them. Every undisciplined man believes he is free because no one is telling him what to do, but in reality he is obeying cravings, laziness, fear, and doubt. That is not freedom. That is slavery with no visible chains. True freedom is waking up knowing you can trust yourself to execute, to endure discomfort, and to finish what you start no matter how you feel. Discipline builds that trust, and once you trust yourself, the world begins to respond differently to you. People respect those who respect their own word, and discipline is the proof that your word means something. Without discipline, emotions dictate your decisions, and emotions are shaped by weakness, fatigue, and external noise. One bad day destroys your routine, one insult ruins your focus, one moment of temptation derails months of progress. Discipline creates structure, and structure creates stability in chaos. It trains your mind to understand that feelings are temporary, but consequences are permanent. When you are disciplined, you don't negotiate with excuses, you don't wait for the perfect moment, and you don't collapse under pressure. You act because action is your identity, not because it feels good. That is where real confidence is born, not from hype or words, but from evidence stacked through consistent effort. Discipline is painful at first because it forces you to confront everything you've been avoiding, but that pain is the price of control. And control is power. The disciplined man controls his time, his body, his money, and his reactions, while the undisciplined man is controlled by all of them. Freedom is not doing whatever you want. Freedom is being able to do what matters most without resistance from yourself. When discipline becomes part of who you are, your emotions stop hijacking your future. You don't quit when things get boring, you don't explode when challenged, and you don't crumble when results are delayed. Discipline teaches patience without passivity and intensity without chaos. It sharpens your focus so you can say no to distractions that look harmless but quietly steal years from your life. Social media, comfort habits, meaningless pleasure, these don't destroy you overnight, they slowly train you to avoid effort. Discipline reverses that damage by retraining your nervous system to tolerate struggle, silence, and pressure. That tolerance is what gives you freedom of movement in life. While others panic, you stay calm. While others complain, you execute. While others wait, you build. A disciplined life is a life where emotions serve you instead of ruling you. You still feel fear, anger, and doubt, but they no longer decide your actions. Discipline creates a gap between stimulus and response, and in that gap lies freedom. You choose how to react. You choose whether to stay consistent. You choose whether today moves you closer to power or further into regret. Over time, that choice compounds. Small disciplined actions turn into massive advantages, physically, mentally, and financially. Money flows toward those who can manage themselves before trying to manage resources. Opportunities open to those who can be relied upon. Leadership is given to those who don't need supervision. All of that starts with discipline. Not talent, not luck, not motivation. In the end, discipline is self-respect in action. It is the daily proof that you refuse to be ruled by weakness. It is the decision to build a life that is intentional, controlled, and powerful. Without it, you may feel free today, but you will pay for it tomorrow. With it, you may struggle now, but you will own your future. That is why discipline is the foundation of freedom, because when you master yourself, nothing else can enslave you. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because the moment you lack it, your emotions take the steering wheel and drive your life wherever they want, and emotions have no loyalty to your future. They chase comfort, avoid pain, and seek instant relief, even if it costs you years of progress. When you live emotionally, you work only when you feel inspired, you commit only when it's easy, and you quit the moment resistance appears. That isn't living freely. That is being trapped in a cycle where your mood decides your destiny. Discipline breaks that cycle by teaching you how to act independently of how you feel. It gives you the power to show up tired, to stay focused when bored, and to move forward even when fear is loud. That power is rare, and because it's rare, it creates separation. Most people believe freedom means doing whatever they want in the moment, but that version of freedom always ends with regret, weakness, and dependency. Real freedom is waking up knowing your emotions don't control your schedule, your habits, or your standards. It's knowing you won't betray yourself just because today feels uncomfortable. Without discipline, emotions manipulate your perception of reality. A small setback feels like failure. A slow week feels like defeat. A little criticism feels like an attack. Discipline trains your mind to stay neutral under pressure and focused under stress. It reminds you that feelings pass, but habits remain. When discipline becomes your default, you stop reacting and start responding. You stop letting anger ruin relationships, fear stop your progress, and pleasure steal your time. That emotional control becomes a quiet advantage. While others spiral, you stay steady. While others panic, you plan. While others complain, you execute. Discipline builds emotional endurance, and emotional endurance is freedom because it allows you to move through life without being constantly shaken by circumstances you cannot control. A disciplined person does not need motivation to act because action is no longer negotiable. That alone removes a massive mental burden. You no longer waste energy debating whether to work, train, learn, or improve. You just do it. This clarity creates momentum, and momentum creates confidence. That confidence is not loud or performative. It's calm and unshakable. It comes from knowing you can rely on yourself even on your worst days. That self-trust is priceless. When you trust yourself, you don't need external validation. You don't need approval. You don't need permission. You move with certainty, and that certainty opens doors. People follow those who are consistent. Opportunities go to those who are dependable. Wealth flows toward those who can manage discipline before money ever enters the picture. Emotional slavery keeps people stuck chasing distractions. Comfort habits feel harmless, but they quietly weaken your ability to endure discomfort. Discipline reverses that damage by rebuilding your tolerance for effort. It trains your nervous system to stay calm when things get hard instead of looking for escape. Over time, this rewiring changes how life feels. Challenges stop feeling overwhelming. Pressure stops feeling threatening. Discipline gives you emotional insulation, allowing you to function at a high level regardless of circumstances. That is freedom, being able to move forward without needing perfect conditions, being able to stay focused while others are distracted, being able to delay gratification while others chase pleasure. Freedom also means choice, and discipline expands your choices. The disciplined body is stronger and healthier. The disciplined mind is sharper and calmer. The disciplined bank account has options. Undisciplined living shrinks your world until you're forced to accept whatever is left. Discipline may feel restrictive in the moment, but it multiplies your options in the long run. It allows you to say no to situations that don't align with your standards. It allows you to walk away from chaos. It allows you to build leverage instead of dependence. Every act of discipline is a vote for future freedom, and every excuse is a vote for future limitation. In the end, discipline is not about control for the sake of control. It's about ownership. Ownership of your time, your reactions, your habits, and your future. When you master discipline, your emotions no longer own you. You own them. You still feel, but you are not ruled. You still experience doubt, but you are not stopped. You still face discomfort, but you are not broken by it. That is the highest form of freedom available to a human being, and it is earned, not given. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because without it, your emotions quietly become your master, shaping your days, your habits, and ultimately your entire future. Most people don't realize they're enslaved because the chains are invisible. They think freedom means reacting honestly to how they feel, resting when they're tired, quitting when it hurts, and indulging when temptation calls. But that version of freedom is nothing more than obedience to impulse. Emotions are short-sighted. They want comfort now, relief now, pleasure now. They don't care who you could become or what you sacrifice along the way. When discipline is absent, emotions decide when you work, how hard you try, and how far you go. That means your potential rises and falls with your mood, and that is the most fragile way to live. Discipline removes emotions from the decision-making seat and puts values, standards, and long-term vision in control. That shift alone is the beginning of real freedom. An undisciplined person believes they are choosing freely, but in reality, they are constantly reacting. Reacting to stress, reacting to fear, reacting to boredom, reacting to comfort. One bad emotion can undo weeks of progress because there is no system holding the line. Discipline creates that system. It gives structure to your days and boundaries to your behavior. It trains you to act because something matters, not because it feels good. Over time, this changes how you experience life. You stop being surprised by difficulty because you expect it. You stop being derailed by discomfort because you've trained yourself to move through it. Discipline doesn't remove pain, but it removes panic. It teaches you that discomfort is not an emergency, and that lesson alone frees you from emotional chaos. Emotional slavery shows up in small, daily ways. Skipping work because motivation is low. Avoiding hard conversations because anxiety is high. Overindulging because stress feels overwhelming. These patterns feel harmless in isolation, but compounded over years, they build a life of limitation. Discipline interrupts these loops. It forces you to act in alignment with your goals even when your emotions resist. That resistance is where growth lies. Each time you override emotion with discipline, you strengthen your ability to choose consciously. That ability is freedom. It means you are no longer at the mercy of temporary feelings. You decide who you are and how you show up regardless of circumstances. Discipline also creates internal order, and internal order creates external power. When your habits are consistent, your mind becomes quieter. You spend less energy debating, doubting, and procrastinating. Decisions become simpler because your standards are clear. You don't ask whether you should train, work, or improve. You already decided long ago. This removes friction from life. While others are mentally exhausted by constant negotiation with themselves, the disciplined person moves forward with clarity. That clarity produces momentum, and momentum produces confidence. This confidence is not emotional or fragile. It's built on evidence. You know what you're capable of because you've proven it to yourself repeatedly. That self-trust cannot be taken away by criticism or failure. Freedom is often misunderstood as the absence of rules, but the most powerful people in the world live by strict personal rules. Discipline gives you command over your time, your energy, and your attention. These are the real currencies of life. Without discipline, they leak away into distractions, drama, and meaningless pleasure. With discipline, they are invested deliberately into growth. This investment compounds. Physically, you become stronger and healthier. Mentally, you become calmer and sharper. Financially, you become more stable and independent. Each of these areas expands your choices. You can walk away from situations that don't serve you. You can endure pressure without breaking. You can delay gratification without resentment. That is freedom in its most practical form. Emotions will always exist, but discipline determines their role. Without discipline, emotions are leaders. With discipline, emotions are information. You can feel fear without stopping, feel anger without exploding, feel doubt without quitting. Discipline creates a buffer between feeling and action, and that buffer is where conscious choice lies. Life becomes less reactive and more intentional. You stop being dragged by circumstances and start moving according to principle. This doesn't make life easy, but it makes it yours. In the end, discipline is not about restriction, it is about liberation. It frees you from the constant instability of emotional living. It frees you from regret, from inconsistency, and from the quiet disappointment of knowing you could have done more. Discipline demands effort up front, but it pays in autonomy, strength, and self-respect. Without it, emotions will decide your limits. With it, you decide your future. That is why discipline is the foundation of freedom, and why mastering it is the most important victory you can ever achieve. Discipline is the foundation of freedom because without it, your emotions quietly control your direction, your standards, and your outcomes while convincing you that you are choosing freely. Most people don't feel enslaved because emotional slavery is comfortable at first. It allows rest instead of effort, excuses instead of responsibility, and reaction instead of intention. But comfort is deceptive. Every time you let emotion decide whether you show up, push harder, or stay consistent, you hand over authority over your life to something temporary and unstable. Emotions change with sleep, stress, hunger, and opinion, yet when discipline is absent, those fragile states dictate permanent consequences. Discipline removes that chaos by creating a fixed code of behavior. You act because you decided to, not because it feels good. That consistency is what gives you control over your life, and control is the root of freedom. Without discipline, emotions distort reality. A hard task feels impossible. A delay feels like failure. A challenge feels personal. Discipline corrects this distortion by training you to focus on process instead of feeling. You learn to separate discomfort from danger and effort from suffering. This mental separation is powerful because it prevents emotional overreaction. Instead of quitting when resistance appears, you lean in. Instead of avoiding pressure, you use it. Discipline teaches you that most limits are emotional, not physical, and once you understand that, you stop negotiating with weakness. You build resilience not by feeling confident, but by acting despite doubt. Over time, this creates emotional immunity. Problems no longer derail you, they sharpen you. A life without discipline is reactive. You chase urgency instead of importance. You seek relief instead of progress. You confuse motion with growth. Discipline brings order to your time and direction to your energy. It forces prioritization. It demands sacrifice, but those sacrifices are investments in future freedom. Every disciplined choice strengthens your ability to delay gratification, and the ability to delay gratification is what separates leaders from followers. While others consume, you build. While others escape, you endure. This endurance compounds. Days of discipline turn into years of advantage, and years of advantage turn into leverage over your circumstances. Emotional slavery keeps people trapped in cycles they don't understand. They feel busy but accomplish little. They feel tired but haven't pushed themselves. They feel frustrated but avoid responsibility. Discipline exposes these cycles and breaks them. It replaces impulse with intention. Instead of asking how you feel, you ask what must be done. That single shift changes everything. Your identity moves from emotional to deliberate. You become someone who can be counted on, including by yourself. That self-reliability is rare, and rarity creates value. People trust those who are consistent. Opportunities follow those who execute. Freedom grows when you are no longer dependent on moods, motivation, or external validation. Discipline also frees you socially and mentally. When you are disciplined, you stop needing approval because your standards come from within. You are not easily influenced, offended, or distracted. Emotional reactions lose their grip. You don't waste energy proving yourself or reacting to every opinion. This creates mental space, and mental space creates clarity. With clarity, decisions become simpler. You know when to say yes and when to walk away. You know what aligns with your goals and what doesn't. That clarity protects your time and focus, the two resources most people lose first. Freedom is often romanticized as limitless choice, but limitless choice without discipline leads to paralysis and regret. Discipline narrows your focus so your efforts become powerful. It reduces noise so your actions have impact. It creates a life where progress is predictable, not accidental. Emotion-driven living is unpredictable and exhausting. Discipline-driven living is demanding but stable. That stability allows you to take bigger risks because your foundation is strong. You can face uncertainty without fear because you trust your ability to adapt and persist. In the end, discipline is self-mastery, and self-mastery is the highest form of freedom. When you master your habits, you master your reactions. When you master your reactions, you master your direction. Without discipline, emotions dictate your limits and your future shrinks. With discipline, emotions become tools, not tyrants. You still feel deeply, but you act deliberately. You still face struggle, but you move forward anyway. That is freedom earned through control, and it is available to anyone willing to choose discipline over comfort every single day. And when everything is stripped away, motivation, excitement, validation, and comfort, what remains is who you truly are. This is where discipline proves its worth, not on the easy days, but on the days when nothing feels right and quitting feels justified. Those are the moments that decide your future. Every time you act despite resistance, you strengthen the part of you that refuses to be controlled by emotion. You begin to realize that freedom isn't found in escaping effort, but in mastering yourself through it. The world doesn't reward potential, intention, or emotion. It rewards consistency, resilience, and execution. When you stop letting moods dictate your actions, your life becomes predictable in the best way. Your progress becomes inevitable. You no longer fear hard days because you know they won't break you. You no longer depend on perfect conditions because you've built internal strength. Discipline turns struggle into structure and chaos into clarity. It transforms pain into purpose and effort into leverage. In the long run, the disciplined person lives with fewer regrets, more options, and deeper self-respect. So remember this: you don't rise when you feel ready, and you don't fail when you feel tired. You rise or fall based on what you do when emotions try to lead you astray. Life lesson: master discipline, or your emotions will master your life.